I wanted people that had character. I wanted people that I could trust. Because if you don't realize it, real estate and being an entrepreneur is not much different than combat.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Many people cannot scale from 0 to over 1,600 units or nearly 1,600 in 18 months or less. And our guest today, Wesley Yates, has done just that. He's a proud Marine veteran with over 9 years of active duty service. It brings a strategic outlook and goal-oriented mindset to the team at VFR Capital Investments. He's turned down many jobs at other places to pursue this business in real estate, quickly building relationships with other like-minded entrepreneurs. He's built his base of accredited investors who believe in his vision for acquiring commercial real estate. I enjoyed this interview with Wesley and just his outlook on how the military has helped him as an entrepreneur. I can relate to that, as many of you know, but I hope you can relate to it as well. And his struggle the first year and a half to get started without doing a deal, but then all of a sudden took off, right? And I just hope that helps encourage you to keep going if you are in that initial phase. But also, all of us are going to can learn from how he built this team and even how he looks at different roles that need experience and maybe some that don't need as much experience when hiring. I know you're going to learn a lot from Wesley today. Wesley, welcome to the show. Pleasure to meet you. First off, before you even say anything, I want to say thank you for your service. Just grateful to our veterans who have served, in that way and putting it all on the line. So thank you for that. But welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Whitney. I appreciate you having me on here. I'm excited to share some story and hopefully reach some audience here.
Yeah. You have grown very quickly. You've built your focus is like on this team. I've heard that a couple of different times. Even some things I've read about you. It's like, man, you've built a great team. You all have grown fast. What I read was in less than 18 months, you acquired 589 units. Now I have a total account under management of 1,590 units. That happens by doing things, right? One step after another, right? You are putting things into action, and in your case, sounds like an amazing team. So I'm wanting to jump into that because I could not agree with you more. It's our success as well, is the people that we brought together, those different skill sets. Could not have done all this on my own. It just wouldn't have happened. But tell the listeners a little bit more about your background, Wesley, because I know that's going to be very helpful in understanding how you built this team as well.
Yes, no, thank you. So my background, like you said, serving, I did 9 years in the Marine Corps. A lot of that was spent, I did a little time in the avionics, did a little time doing some martial arts instructing, got moved up to do some training chief, was working up there, overseeing an entire battalion level of Marines and overseeing all the training that went on. So that was really fun. Then they handpicked me to do some recruiting duty. So that was what brought me back out to Texas. So home state of Texas. So I was at least excited for that. But, fast forwarding to real estate, I tried doing it everyone else's way. And, it was, as much as syndication is a little bit more team friendly and a team sport, I think the internal team, there's a lot of co-sponsoring happening, but the internal team, it never had the right synergy for me. And, I've been doing syndication since July of 2019. And I never had the right ethics. I never had the right, whether that be work ethic or your morals and values. I never found that right synergy with the people that I was partnering with, which is why the first year and a half, I never closed the property. Had several things under contract, learned a lot. I'm not going to say, you can learn a lot from failure if you will let yourself. So it was a big learning curve. And then I finally put together my own team, met one of my partners now over lunch, and he's a first responder. He's been a police officer for 22 years now, been in real estate for 20, kind of building up a portfolio, was starting to transition from single family to multifamily. So it was a perfect timing for us. We had the vision on how we wanted to see that team and really the importance that we had on that. So we started pulling together people that were, other veterans, other first responders, and hence the VFR capital investments. Well, the VFR is veterans and first responders. I hear a few avionics guys every once in a while like, is that like virtual flight? I'm like, no. It's veterans and first responders. But that's really what it was. So we officially launched our team in November of 2020. Took us about 5 months to get our feet under us and get our systems in place, get everybody kind of in the right role where that fit their, I guess you could say their skill sets. And then we started, like you said, cranking out deals. Got our first deal under contract in March of 2021. And we've been back-to-back contract closes all the way through to yesterday. Yesterday, we just put the final touches on our $30 million deal yesterday. That was out here in Fort Worth. So that brought us to a total of 590 units. And if you want to count all the way until day one, that's 15 months. So we're already working on a 272 unit deal out in Missouri that we're raising on right now. And that one's probably going to be done in April. So, that'll put us over 70 million and over 800 doors before. And then that's still under 18 months. So my greatest asset and my greatest key to success has been the team that I've put together. And I guess you could say this, my service to my team. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Awesome. I want to dive into a few things there that you've mentioned because we've done it's interesting. The team is so important, right? I just cannot stress it enough. We did a show a couple of days ago on like traction, right? Or EOS, and another guy that implemented, that. It's just like, man, when you can get those processes in place and you can, build the right team, it's just incredible, what can happen. And it sounds like, you figured that out, right? But I think it's neat that, you spent that first year and a half and you didn't quit. It's like you didn't do a deal in a year and a half. And you and I have a similar story in that actually. But I just appreciate how, you didn't say, well, you know what, I can't do this alone. I haven't been able to find anybody. I'm going to go, I don't know, start flipping now, or I'm going to go start a different online business, or, like you stayed the course and it's paid off. Right. And so you found your business partner. And speak to, you said you launched the team in November of 2020. And I want to get to it took a while to get everyone in the right role, like you talked about. But what does that mean when you say we launched the team? Does that mean you had hired some people? Does that mean, hey, you found some other partners? What did that look like then?
Yeah. So we, syndication, if you're in it, the cash flow comes later. So hiring employees on the front end, almost impossible unless you've got, a surplus of cash and reserves sitting there from, some other, parts of success. And if you're not in syndication yet, you're looking into it, I hope I didn't bust your bubble there. So, but yeah, so what we did is we basically pulled together a partnership and, kind of divvied up, hey, what role is going to equate to what, percentage of the deal. And a lot of it was guys that had never even looked at real estate. I mean, my full-time acquisitions director now was our analyst for a little bit. He's one of the guys that I helped get in the Marine Corps when I was a recruiter, a good 10 years ago. He's now an archaeologist. And I called him up and I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm cleaning out my truck. I was like, oh, sorry. No, I should have been more specific. What are you doing for work? And he's like, oh, I'm an archaeologist now. I was like, oh, cool. What do you do as an archaeologist? How do you go from like an infantry Marine to archaeology? And I'm like, but okay. So he's telling me, we go out in the field, we got to collect all these samples. Then we'll come back to our lab and we'll do all these, measurements and all this stuff that, gathering all this data. And then we'll do a report on it. I was like, oh, okay. So kind of like an analyst. He's like, a what? I'm like, never mind. You ever thought about real estate? And so that's Clay Epler. That guy, he went from never even heard of syndication or underwriting or analyst to guy just built his own underwriting spreadsheet that, I love it. So really quickly picked it up. But it was a lot of that. And it was really just the contribution to the team was based on their percentages. And we just worked it out. So
that was a way to say, keep from having to hire a full-time employee right now, having that expense and allowing, or finding It sounds like great people that you trusted, even though they didn't have experience, right? But it was a way for them to really get into this business as well, and you not to have to hire full-time people just yet.
Well, see, this is what I looked at it. Two things. I wasn't going to do it the every other day way, and so I didn't want to go hire someone that was trained to do it that way. The I'm not going to name names, but the other trainee programs, their way, how they do it, how they're taught, because you pay them because they're already trained. To me, product knowledge is something that, you can have experience in this game. And we have people on our team that already have the, 20, 30, 40 years of experience on that. So not every role needed to have, all the abundance of that. I wanted people that had character. I wanted people that I could trust, because if you don't realize it, real estate and being an entrepreneur is not much different than combat. I know you're probably like, how the heck is that? Well, combat by definition can be broken down very simplicity to something that is always challenging, forever changing, and the likelihood of conflict is high. Now, when you think about it, the conflict is different, but there's still, especially when you're the one managing properties, because you're buying a business and real estate at that commercial level, you're responsible for putting out all the fires. So all the training and all the planning, I would venture to say that the U.S. military is the finest trained for combat. So how is that leadership? How are those tactics? How are all of those, that education and years and years and years of passing that down and learning not make us the best entrepreneurs? All we need is that right product knowledge. So I brought the people that had the product knowledge and brought on the people that had the training. And that was really the secret sauce of putting together our business plan of how we were going to do it.
Vertical Street Ventures is excited to announce their first annual national conference, Financially Free in 3. A conference for real estate investors. This is a 2-day event happening on June the 4th and 5th in Scottsdale, Arizona. At this conference, you will hear from experts on how to leave your day job and become a full-time real estate investor. Understand the tax-efficient strategies to keep more of what you earn. Learn how to buy real estate assets that create passive income for you. Meet hundreds of like-minded people and the unique opportunity to take a bus tour around large and small multifamily properties to learn how these investments are operated. There will be world-class speakers and industry experts, including Hunter Thompson, Michael Becker, Paul Peebles, Amanda Hahn, and more. Go to vsvcon.com to grab your ticket. Make the decision to get out from the sidelines and learn about new opportunities to build your wealth. This will be the most critical investment you'll ever make in yourself. Again, visit vsvcon.com today. I appreciate you elaborating on that, because I wanted to ask you about like hiring people without experience, because it's something we've had to deal with. It's like, do I hire this person who, man, they're just they could be an amazing cultural fit. Maybe they have the drive, but they have no experience, in this role. And then I know I'm going to have to spend that time training them, right? Is that better? Or is it finding somebody that they may be a good cultural fit, but man, they have a ton of experience, right? And so I've heard people argue about both sides of that. But it sounds like you did a little bit of both. Right.
Well, exactly. And it's just like some people say, oh, it's better to delegate. Oh, no, it's better to be hands-on. It's like, no, there's a rhyme and a reason, just like, is the cup half full or is it half empty? No, there's a definition for both. Did you fill it up halfway? Well, that's half full. Did you fill it up all the way and drink half of it? That's half empty. So you got to know, I don't want my inexperienced people on asset managing. No. My most experienced people that have, between the two of them, have over 40 years of experience. We just brought out a construction manager that has 15 years of construction management. So between my asset management team alone, I have 55 years of real estate experience. But do I need that experience on acquisitions? Or do I need to know people that can follow orders, that I can trust, that are going to be ethical? Because your underwriting is a lot about ethics. You can twist numbers and make deals look good.
Sure can.
But does that benefit everyone involved? No. So that's why I want good ethical people doing my underwriting, doing my deal screening. And that's where they can be a little less experienced, because I'm okay with training. And we built an internal training program to help people that that have no experience whatsoever, but they, kind of have that right work ethic and mindset to take on something. So that's how we've been bringing people on here recently to help them get into real estate, but they're joining our team, and it's allowing us to expand across multiple different markets right now.
That's incredible. I just appreciate your thought on that. And because there definitely are roles that require experience. People have to get experience one way or another, but typically, especially a newer company, there's certain roles you don't want to have to train for, right? Or you want to bring on more talent than what you have even in that role, right? We have done that, and it sounds like you've done that as well in some of those key positions. But you talked about building this internal trading program. Speak to and actually I wanted to go back to a little bit on the combat, the vision of, somebody being in combat and training for that and then becoming an entrepreneur. I can relate to that 100%. I've also been in combat and military. And then I speak often about, how my military training helped me in a massive way become an entrepreneur. No doubt about it. Right. I just feel like, it changed me in many ways, right? It pushed me to be so much better than probably I ever imagined, so appreciate you elaborating on that. Speak to that internal trading program though, and how you develop that, some thoughts behind, because it's so important, right? I don't want to keep training everyone. So it's great to have something that, I can say, hey, here's some things you can go do to learn, educate, and then we'll follow back up, one-on-one. How did you do that?
We looked at, so I did go back to college after the Marine Corps, and it was actually, technically for process engineering. So looking at how to break down a process into many steps and look at where bottlenecks may be, and how do you expand upon that and streamline a process from start to finish. Well, if you look at any business, it's the same thing. It's the same process. So when I was looking at this, I realized the biggest bottleneck was right there on the front end on finding the right deal. So I needed to have more acquisitions representatives, a larger acquisitions team. I also wanted to kind of kill two birds with one stone and have my acquisitions reps located where they were going to be looking for deals. So that would be kind of a two where they could be the subject matter expert for that market, also kind of helping be the boots on the ground for any assets that they were looking at within their metroplex or their region where they're at. So we started expanding and looking for people that, fit I guess you could say, cut from the same cloth, and started bringing them on. And we were doing it. It was like a one-on-one weekly. I was just doing a screen share. Everyone's, the lovely world of virtual Zooming has made it a lot easier, but it was still time consuming. So Clay and I actually got together and said, how much of this can we automate? How much of this can we just record us doing, from how to get the deal in, screening on our processes of adding it to our pipeline, how the markets, what key indicators on the market we look at, how to do an underwriting, what information you need to even do your first underwriting, so on and so forth, and everything. So pre-recorded everything. And that made it go a whole lot quicker. We had one person join our team back in February. She started that morning. By that night, she was underwriting deals. Never underwrote anything before. Had no underwriting experience, had nothing. So we were like, okay, we did something right. Awesome. So and it's that starting with the plan, coming back, tweaking it, always looking for improvements and being open for feedback. Hey, what did you like? What did you not like? What do you think we could elaborate more on? And then going back and, tweaking that. So that's really what we've done. And we've grown quite a bit this year alone on bringing on more and more acquisitions. And, now we're moving into our investor relations role and building up that team because we've got a lot of investors that are now going, hey, I see your growth. I'd like to invest with y'all. How do I do that? So that's kind of the next endeavor, is putting together our investor relations team to make sure that our investors are taken care of. But
is there a software or something, or just Google Drive, or like, what did you use to kind of organize those videos so someone knows where to go and kind of the process?
Yeah. So actually, the very first meeting, we do like an onboarding meeting. It's kind of very similar. With the military in the back, the background in the military, you kind of have that when you join a unit, you have like this first official onboarding meeting. That's like where you're in front of everyone. You meet your chain of command. They kind of tell you the do's and don'ts of the area and, what's your expectations. And then you're off, right? You got to go around and check in everywhere. That's the same thing we do, but we do it virtual. So we have an onboarding meeting. We bring that new class on board and we say, all right, look, this is where you're going to be working. This is our software. We have it. Here's how to access all your training recordings. And it's just a screen recording software. I think I use JumpShare now. And we just put that in there and it's chronological order. Watch this here. And if you have any questions, comment here. We have we use WhatsApp for our group chat, and we use for all of our file sourcing. We use Google Drive. We use Asana for our, I guess you could say our CRM or our pipeline. So kind of almost try to like, in a way, franchise us. So, I mean, you're wearing the same brand, you're going through the same training, and you're doing everything by the same policy. So, I mean, you look at McDonald's, they make more burgers than anywhere, any other company. Not saying they got the best burger in the world, but they got that. So we're also trying to kind of like the military where we want quality and that mild quantity. So that's really where we're at. So it's our training has built in, I guess you could say, screening. I'm not going to go. And that's something that we recently had to realize. It's like, look, if you can't even meet us at the starting line and do what we expect, what we've led you to get to here. If you can't meet us here, then, it's like, I got to worry about the flock, not the lost sheep. So, and that's something that was a difficult thing with me because I wanted to try to save everyone. I wanted to try to help everyone. And I had to realize that it's got to start here with them. If they don't want to help themselves and take advantage of an opportunity, I can't help them.
Sure. Early on, you also mentioned your service to the team, and elaborate on that. What does that mean and look like?
I tell my team I can't make them any promises other than one, and that one promise is that I will outwork them. So I believe in the power of being a leader. To be first, you must be last. That's what it is. I mean, a lot of you study military leadership and there's some history there. And a lot of it is, the highest ranking should eat last. They should make sure that all of their troops are taken care of first before they worry about themselves. And it's hard. It's hard to be a leader. It's easy to be a boss, but you need leaders and you need managers. And there are differences in the two. And you do need both. Your managers are overseeing what's going on and they're overseeing your production. They're overseeing the progress. Me as a leader, I got to make sure that progress is going in the right direction. That's going to hit us where our end goal is towards success. Progress in the right direction is no different than failure. You must learn from that. So I have to always think about the decisions that are going to affect the organization first and put my emotions and my feelings last. So I always try to be that tip of the spear, lead by example and set that right example. And really, if anything, be the courageous one that can prove it can be done. So that way, someone that may have doubt in themselves can see me doing it. And I've been very transparent with my team to know I'm nobody special. I'm a little old guy from East Texas. I'm not this all-star anything. So if I can do it with the same tools and the same strategy that I've taught them, then hopefully that'll give them a little bit of inspiration to go, yes, if he can do it, I can follow his lead.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel my service is to my team, is to give them that bit of bit of bravery so that they can reach out and start pursuing their own goals and their own dreams.
Tell me a little bit about maybe what you would have done on the first deal, knowing what you know now. Any kind of tips on that first project that you talked about, March of 21, I think, and maybe a couple of things learned. And then we got to move to, unfortunately, a few final questions.
No, I understand. I'll keep this quick. You're going to learn so much, not just from your first deal, but your first year. If you're willing to circle back and admit your failures, admit your mistakes. The faster you can admit those, the faster you can start learning from them. I will say that I made mistakes. I probably have gone back and circled back and looked at every one of our deals and highlighted all the greatness of it and highlighted all the failures of it to see going into the next, how do we get better? How do we get better? In the military, we call that an after action report. Whether it's a failure, a failed mission or a successful mission, you need to learn from it. And that's what we've done. I mean, one of the biggest things that we're going through right now is finding the right co-sponsors on every deal. Who's going to do what they say and say what they do? That's that. So spending the time screening your co-sponsor, spending the time and making sure that that asset is properly planned for. And I mean, look at the financials. Look at the financials to see, do you have the cash flow to cover your debt service? Do you have the cash flow to have the reserves if something goes wrong in the CapEx? So, everyone's so eager to get their first deal done, but don't make that first deal your worst deal because of that eagerness. Be cautious and be strategic and stick to your criteria. So, I mean, we've got a solid team on our first deal. We've had some hiccups on that first deal. And a lot of it has been from we trusted in our co-sponsors too long when we should have just trusted in ourselves to take action and be proactive and just get the job done, even though it wasn't our role. So now that's been something that has been implemented into our team. If we see something not being done, even though it's not our role, we still get it done. And then we correct the action afterwards.
What's your best source for meeting new investors right now?
Honestly, it's still been in person. I love, trying to network through, Facebook and LinkedIn. If anyone ever wants to reach out to me through that or our website, I'm always going to be happy to talk with them and hop on a Zoom, or if they're local to the DFW area, try to grab a lunch. And we host an event about once a month. We go skeet shooting, a bunch of first responders and veterans. Of course, we like shooting guns, but it's a good time too.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah. Hey, that deal that I closed yesterday actually came from the broker that came out to our event, and he gave it to us. So I was like, all right. So it's productive too. But I go to a lot of networking events, and I spend a lot of time trying to fill up my calendar, just meeting new people. And I've got a team that we're building there too. So if you want to talk to us on that, feel free to sign up for a call and connect to our team.
What are some daily habits that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve success?
I would say probably the start and the finish. You gotta be strong throughout the day, but I start my day off really meeting with my acquisitions director, meeting with my managers, my partners, and really getting a gauge on what's going on for the day, going over the plan. I have my reminders that tell me my tasks that are highest priority. And then I always wrap up the day doing the same. How did the day go? Is there anything that you need from me before I clock out? So that onboarding or, starting the day and debriefing of the day.
And how do you like to give back?
Really, I think by taking care of my team, we are working on something that I would like to see come to fruition over the next year or two, where we want to start building basically like a barrack style apartment. It'd be a 100-unit apartment for homeless veterans, and not just giving them a home, but giving them a second chance to. I've partnered with a group that helped me and helped a lot of my other friends that get their disabilities and get their VA benefits. She actually used to work for the VA as a disability rating specialist, and now has her own practice fighting on the behalf of the veterans. So link them up with that and a few other nonprofits coming together that can help these veterans truly come. There's a high homeless, there's a high suicide, giving them a purpose, giving them a home, making them feel more than just a damaged product and giving them that hope again.
That's incredible. My hat's off to our veterans, and it is my grandfather's a veteran too, and in World War II, and he's 101. It's incredible though how difficult it is to work with the VA and just the benefits, stuff like that they need help with, especially as they age, right? So that's incredible. Appreciate your service again and your desire to help, other veterans and because they definitely need it. So thank you again, Wesley, for your time today. It's incredible to see your growth, that you and this team that you've built, has accomplished, right? I mean, it's incredible. 1,500 plus almost 1,600 units in a very short time frame. That doesn't happen by letting grass grow under your feet, right? So, I appreciate just you expressing how you've done that. And even I appreciated just the dynamic between hiring experienced people versus not, and how you've looked at that in different roles. I think it's very helpful. Tell the listeners, though, how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yes. So our website is VFR Capital Investments, and there is an S on that.com. You can type in the same for our Facebook and our LinkedIn pages and find us on there, reach out, and then you can see some events. We'll always put local events that we're going to or hosting ourselves. And we'd love to meet up with you, whether it be virtual. We're happy to answer questions. We're happy to, get you in a deal and have you as a partner as well. So we're looking forward to talking with anyone, and hopefully we can help where we can.
Thank you for being a loyal listener of the show. Please subscribe and share it with your friends. We want to help you become the passive investor you've always wanted to become, but also the operator you've always wanted to become. We want to be the number one resource for your real estate investing journey. But go to lifebridgecapital.com where you can start investing in real estate today.